All right. So, just a couple of housekeeping things as we get going here. Just like always with the HIMSS webinars, if you have a question, go ahead and type it into the Q&A section, or you could go ahead and raise your hand. We're going to save the questions until the end, but if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and type it into that Q&A section, and we'll answer it as soon as we get to it. Or go ahead and raise your hand. So my name is Thomas. I'm the Western Regional Sales Manager for HIMSS, and with me I have Jenny Axler. Jenny, you want to say hi?
Good morning, evening, everyone. I always say good morning because it's morning for me, but I do realize it's afternoon and evening for the rest of you. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And we also have Mike Tyndall here with us. You want to say hi, Mike?
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here on this Wednesday afternoon after Memorial Day. As Thomas said, thanks to all of you for joining us, and I'm hoping that we're all going to learn something today, a little more about social media.
Voice off.
All right. So Jenny, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. So first of all, I do want to apologize for the last social media webinar. I did have a bit of a tech meltdown. We knew that my router was running on borrowed time, but unfortunately I had to wait for something accessible and English. So I had to order something from the US and it came just before the webinar started. We decided that it would be a greater risk to try and set up a new network just before doing a webinar. And it turned out that, well, you know, the best laid plans and all that. So we are going to try to do a bit of a do-over today. This will probably be a bit of a shorter webinar because we are just going to show a couple of social media programs that we did not get to last time. So one of those being Tweetings for Twitter. We talked about that last time a little bit, so we're actually going to dive into that and take a look at that. And then we're also going to take a look at Google Meet because this is also one of the up and coming popular conference platforms. I do also want to mention that we do have a patch coming out soon. This was actually intended mostly to fix some math issues, and we have already gotten it to some teachers. But we did end up adding a couple of maintenance items too, and a couple of really great enhancements that I'll talk a little bit about before we get going. One of those is the ability, we really want to improve the support that we are able to do and how quickly we're able to deal with issues. And one of the ways that we are doing that is we've added some extra logging and recording functions. So now you will be able to, with a hotkey, create a screen recording or take a still shot of your screen. And we also have a function that's going to allow you to both take a screen recording and do a system log at the same time. So this gives you a video of what you're doing. It'll also pick up your microphone. So if you want to explain what you're doing as you do things, it'll give the developers, like I said, a nice clear video of what's going on as well as a system log. And it zips it up all nice and neat automatically for you. So when it's done, all you have to do is send it via email. So we hope that this will really help. Sometimes there is, of course, a little bit of a language barrier, and then there's just, of course, the passing of information from customer to dealer to, to our staff. So we're really hoping that this will simplify the process and really get to the heart of issues very quickly. The other thing that we are working on is the ability to directly from an email or a scheduled appointment in the planner be able to activate links in the Chrome browser. And what this is going to allow you to do is to automatically launch several Android related programs. So for example, if you're invited to a live event in Teams, you'll be able to press this hotkey. It will launch Chrome, which will then automatically launch Teams. The same thing could happen for a Zoom link. And again, you'll be able to do this in the schedule manager because if you add such an event to your calendar, the links are often in the memo field or sometimes in the location field. It depends on the format of how they're done. But you can often get to those links from there as well. So these are really exciting. Again, it's just to make things easier with all these social media online conferences that are happening. We just want to make that a more streamlined process. So as I said, we are going to do two things today. We're going to show Google Meet and then tweetings for Twitter. And since I've been yakking for a good while, I might let Thomas go first if he's ready. If he's not, I can. Are you ready, Thomas, to do Google Meet, or would you like me to go first?
Yeah, I could definitely do Google Meets.
Okay, so I'm gonna hand it off to him and let him demo that, and then I will come back and demonstrate tweetings for Twitter.
All right, thank you very much, Jenny. So I should be sharing my screen right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and walk through several different things that you're gonna commonly wanna do when you're working with Google Meets. So first thing I'm gonna do is turn on my speech so that everyone can hear me.
Voice on. File manager, F.
There we go. And if that's a little bit too quiet, would Mike or Jenny let me know? All right. So I'm on the Polaris. I'm at the file manager. I've already gone ahead and downloaded the Google Meet app from the Play Store. We're not going to cover that today, so we're going to just assume that you've already got it installed. So I'm going to go and press A for all apps.
Calendar.
And then I'm going to press the letter M.
Maps.
I'm at Maps. I'm going to scroll down one to Google Meet.
Meet.
You'll notice that it is called Meet and not Google Meet on the Polaris. And from here, I'm just going to go ahead and press Enter. Now, when it opens up,
Meet button, show more meetings, enter key to select.
when it first opens up, it is going to ask you which Google account you want to use with it. If you've already got a Google account set up on your Polaris, it will give you the option to just choose the account that you're working with. Also, please note that there are differences in security settings. So, for example, when I had to set mine up, I did two-factor authentication and I had to confirm with my phone. You might also get an email for security, or you may not get any security notifications at all. All right, so I've got Google Meet open. I'm just going to jump to the top with space 123.
PDT's GMB left at 1. PDT's
Okay.
GMB left at 1. 52 p.m. Enter key to select.
And so actually that's a meeting that I've already done here. So that's not exactly what I want. I'm going to go ahead and press F3.
Button present, press the enter key to run.
I'll keep pressing F3 again.
Button rejoin the meeting you left at 1. 52 p.m. Press the enter key to run.
And one more time.
Button show more meetings, enter key to select.
And let's go ahead one more time.
Button open navigation drawer, enter key to select.
Okay, so when you first open up Google Meets, since I was playing with this, if you open it up fresh, it will put you on the button open navigation drawer to begin with. Now, let's say you're doing a meeting and you want to start your own meeting. Just like with a lot of different apps on the Polaris, there's two ways of navigating. You can either scroll, you can do that with your scroll keys, or you could be using space with dots 1 and 4, or you could tab, or I call it tab, and that's F3 or space F3, or alternative to tab, you could do space 1, 2, and space 4, 5. So I'm on the open navigation drawer, and with all apps, I like to explore just by pressing F3. But I found that when I'm using Google Meets, I actually want to scroll. So I'm just going to go ahead and press F3 as if I was exploring this app for the first time. So I'm at the open navigation drawer. I'm going to press F3.
Meet.
And it says Meet, and that's the app name. I'll press F3 again.
PDT's GMB left at 1. 52 p.m. Enter key to select.
All right, and that gives me the previous meeting that I was in. I'll press F3 again.
Button present, press the enter key to run.
So I could present.
Button rejoin the meeting you left at 1. 52 p.m. Press the enter key to run.
I could rejoin.
Button show more meetings, enter key to select.
Show more meetings, and if I press F3 again,
button open navigation drawer, enter key to select.
Takes me back to the navigation drawer. So that didn't actually get me to where I wanted to go. And I knew that because I'd opened up the app and I explored it. And like I said, I always explore an app, a new app with F3 to begin with. So when I'm at the open navigation drawer, I found I actually want to scroll, and I'll do that by pressing space and .4.
Button create new meeting, press the enter key to run.
And it says button create new meeting. Now, interestingly enough, when I'm on the open navigation drawer, if I hit C to go to the create new meeting button, it actually doesn't get me there. That's okay because it is the very first option when I scroll. So pressing space with .4 just takes me directly to create new meeting. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and press enter. Now, what it's doing, it's loading and it's going to create a new meeting for me.
Your button share dialog.
And the first thing that pops up is a share dialog. So I'm going to just go ahead and navigate this with F3.
Add others.
Okay, add others.
Share this info with people you want in the meeting. Meet google.com GovQP.
Okay, so that Gook, that is the URL. So it's meet.google.com/QUE-IFTC-RQP. I'm going to press F3 again.
Button share joining info. Press the enter key to run.
Okay, so there's a share joining info. If I press enter on this, it's going to open up a dialog box.
List easy reader. Enter key to select.
And now this is going to give me a list of different apps that I could actually share this with. So I can navigate this with F3.
List sent to Zoom bodies. Enter key to select.
I could also use first letter navigation in here. So if I wanted to choose copy to clipboard, I could just press C.
List copy to clipboard. Enter key to select.
If I wanted to do Gmail, I should be able to press G.
List Gmail. Enter key to select.
And you could go ahead and explore through this. I'm not going to go through all of the different options in here, but first letter navigation does work. I'm just going to go ahead and press F4 on this to close this dialog box.
Share dialog.
And I'm back to the share dialog box. I'm going to go ahead and press F3 until I get to the close button.
Add others. Share this info with people you want in the meeting. Meet google.com button share joining info. Press the enter button. Close dialog. Enter key to select.
I'm going to go ahead and press enter on this to close the share dialog box.
Your button turn on captions. Enter key to select.
Now, for the sake of all of you that are attending, I'm going to actually turn off my microphone on Google Meets right now. And I could actually get to turn on and turn off the microphone and video with first letter navigation by pressing the letter T.
Turn off microphone. Enter key to select.
So I want to turn off the microphone. I'm going to press enter.
Microphone off. Turn on microphone. Enter key to select.
Let's say I also want to turn off my video. And when it says turn off video, that actually means turn off the streaming portion of the video from the camera on the back of the Polaris, which is not going to be used today. So I'll press T again.
Turn off camera. Enter key to select.
And I'm going to go ahead and press enter here.
Camera list. Turn on camera. Enter key to select.
Okay, so now I've got my microphone and my camera turned off. And I'm doing that just for the sake of saving you guys from feedback during this presentation. But now let's say somebody wanted to join this meeting. I'm going to go ahead and press F3 again.
You muted pin to the main screen. Enter key to select.
Okay, so it took me to myself. I'll press F3 again.
You are the main speaker. GovQP. Enter key to select.
All right, so it says you are the main speaker and then some gook. And that's actually the code that you're going to want to share with somebody. So in this instance, it's QUE-IFTC-RQP. Now, what I could do is I could read that and I could share that with a friend. I could send them a text or an email, however you want. And now actually let me show you what it's like from the other side, not on the Polaris. So I'm going to actually on my computer click join a meeting. And on my computer side, I see a dialog box that says got a meeting code, and then I'm going to go ahead and type this in. QUE-IFTC-RQP. Oops. QUE-IFTC-RQP. I'll hit join. And then from my Google Meets on my computer, for clarification, I got to Google Meets directly through my Gmail application through my Chrome web browser. So now I have Google Meets showing up here on my computer, and it says, are you ready to join? I'm just going to go ahead and click ask to join from my computer.
Someone named Thomas Simpson wants to join this meeting.
All right, so now it says somebody named Thomas Simpson wants to join this meeting. And this is coming from my Polaris. So now you guys should be seeing my Polaris if you're sighted. And my Braille reads, someone named Thomas Simpson wants to join this meeting. I can press F3.
Button deny entry, press the enter key to run.
And if I press deny entry, then it's going to deny entry. If I press F3 again, it'll take me to the admit button.
Button admit, press the enter key to run.
And I want to go ahead and press enter here. Now, forgive me for just a moment. You're going to get some feedback. So hold on just one moment.
Thomas Simpson is the main speaker. GovQP. Enter key to select.
All right. And I knew that was going to happen, but we got through it here anyway. Now, on my computer side, I'm actually joined into the meeting. So I'm joining into the meeting as myself. So those of you that are sighted are seeing the Google Meet side from my computer. And this, if you're sighted, what you're seeing right now is what's being displayed on the Polaris. Now, that's all fine and dandy. So if you're using the Polaris, we've started a meeting. We've allowed somebody to enter the meeting. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to do if you're using the Polaris in Google Meet is probably present your screen. So to get there, it's actually quite easy. I could just press the letter M.
More options, enter key to select.
And that takes me to the More Options button. And if I press Enter,
Switch button, switch to front facing camera, enter key to select.
so it opens up a pulled up list with several different options. So I could switch cameras, I could turn on captions, which is really nice. And I found that the captions are actually fairly accurate. They're not great, but they're better than nothing. And on this option, there is present screen. So I could either just press F3 to get there, or I could just press the letter P to get to present screen.
Button present screen, enter key to select.
And I'm gonna go ahead and press enter.
Button cancel, press the enter key to run.
So there's a dialog box that pops open and it puts the focus on the cancel button. If I go ahead and press space with F3.
People will see everything on your screen, including notifications.
Okay, so I know people will see everything on my screen, including notifications. That's okay. I could either press F3 to get to start presenting, or I could press the letter S.
Button start presenting, press the enter key to run.
And I'll go ahead and press enter here.
Meet. More options, enter key to select.
Now, what you'll notice, visually this is going to look a little bit interesting, but I have two windows here on my computer. And on the right side, for those of you that are following along visually, on the right side is my Polaris, and on the left side is what the user will see from a computer. Since I'm presenting on my Polaris, all I have to do is press F1 to go back to the main menu.
File manager, F.
And you'll notice that whatever I'm presenting on the Polaris, whatever shows on the Polaris is actually going to be presented to the user on the computer or another Polaris device or an iPhone, for example, and all of that. So let me go ahead and get rid of the computer side of it and pull back up to the Polaris side. Let me maximize that. So I could go through using Google Meet and do my presentation. And let's say I'm good, I'm done. So I'm going to press F1 and F4 together, and that's going to open up my task manager.
Task name, Meet 1 list item.
And I want to go to Meet, and I'm going to press enter on this. And it takes me back to my screen, or to my Google Meet app, and I want to stop presenting. So I could press F3 to get to stop presenting, or I could press the letter S.
Button stop presenting, press the enter key to run.
And I could go ahead and press enter here.
Meet Thomas Simpson, stop presenting.
So now that I've stopped presenting, if somebody has a camera like I do here, you're going to be able to see see the other person if you're sighted. And so that's all fine and dandy. Now, well, let's go ahead and say that we're done with this. So I'm actually going to go ahead and stop this meeting. So I can press F3 to navigate to
Button people, 2 in the meeting. Enter key to select.
I could go ahead and navigate to leave meeting.
Button leave a meeting, enter key to select.
I could press F3 to get there, or I could just press the letter L. So I'm at leave meeting. I'm going to press enter now.
How is the audio and video?
And now Google's saying, how is the audio and video? I don't want to do that. I'm going to press N for not now.
Button not now, press the enter key to run.
And then I'm going to press enter.
Your Meet.
Okay, so that was using Google Meet to create a meeting, and then I invited somebody else to join me. Alternatively, there's another way of doing it, and let me go ahead and return to home screen. So now I'm going to actually show you how to join a meeting. So here from my computer, just using my Windows computer, I can click start a meeting, and it says camera's ready. And so I'm just going to click join now. And I've got my Google Meet ID here. I'm going to move that over here. All right, so now on the Polaris, let's say I want to join a meeting. I'm actually going to close out of Meet completely.
Meet.
Okay, so when you want to join a meeting, you go to Meet through the All Apps, press enter, and Google Meet opens up.
Button, open navigation drawer, enter key to select.
Takes me to open navigation drawer, just like I would expect when I open the app up. I'm going to go to a section called meeting code, and I'm going to get there by scrolling with space and .4.
Button, create new meeting, press the enter key to run.
And that takes me to create a new meeting. And then I want to get to meeting code, which would be the next option. And I'm going to get there by pressing F3.
Button, enter meeting code, press the enter key to run.
So to create a new meeting, I press space and .4. To enter a meeting code, I press space and .4 followed by F3. Now I'm on enter a new meeting code, or enter a meeting code. I'll press enter here.
Meeting code.
So I'm in the meeting code edit box. I press enter, and then I'm going to go ahead and type in my meeting code, which is, what is it? KMHKU. What is that? Q?
Q.
WHJR. All right, so I typed in the meeting code, and I'll press F3 until I get to join meeting.
Button present, press the enter key to run. Button join meeting, press the enter key to run.
And I'll go ahead and press enter here.
Your video preview.
Now it says your video preview. And what you want to do is you want to get to the section where it says ask to join. You could do that by trying to get there by pressing F3.
Turn off microphone, enter key to select. Turn off camera, enter key to select. Meeting title, KMHJR. Button ask to join, press the enter key to run.
All right, so I'm at ask to join. I'll go ahead and press enter. And on my computer side, it says someone wants to join this meeting. It says I want to join. I'm going to go ahead and click admit.
Meeting ongoing.
My apologies for that. That usually only happens because we're doing Zoom and Google Meets at the same time. So I apologize for the feedback. But yeah, so that's basically how you use Google Meets. So you can either choose to create a meeting or you can choose to join a meeting. You could get the meeting code in a number of different ways, but yeah, you can do it through email or one of the questions is, can you copy the code and paste it? Yeah, you absolutely can copy the code and paste it. And so, yeah, that's Google Meets. So Jenny?
Okay, just a second. I'm gonna switch my audio for my Polaris.
Thomas Simpson is button, turn on captions, turn on microphone, turn off camera, camera is turn on camera, enter key to select.
So while we're waiting for Jenny, we do have a question here. The question is, do you have to have a special type of Google account, such as business account, to set up Google Meetings, or can anyone set one up? The answer is that anyone can set one up. And in fact, the way that I'm showing it to you is from my own private personal account. So let me go ahead and I'll just move this over here. So if you're using Gmail, there's going to be a little section. It says start a meeting or join a meeting. So Google's integrated this directly into Gmail. I believe there's also a Windows app, but you can do it directly through like a Chrome web browser, or I haven't tested other web browsers. I know Chrome web browser definitely works. But yeah, you can do that directly from your Gmail account, any Gmail account, and it's right in Google. Somebody asked, can you copy the code and paste it? Yes, absolutely. You can copy the code and paste it. It's going to be in that share section when you go ahead and create the meeting.
Okay, are you guys able to hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, and wait a minute.
Main volume 14.
Just a moment.
Main volume 16. Main volume 21.
Trying to get Polaris.
Voice volume 9. Voice volume 10. Main volume 20.
Okay, how about Polaris?
Start my video, enter key to select.
Yep, it's a little bit hot, so you can turn it down.
Okay.
Main volume 18. Main volume 15. Main volume 13. Main volume 12. Share button, enter key to select.
Better?
Yeah, take the main volume down to like 9.
Main volume 11. Main volume 10. Main volume 9.
I apologize. The audio setup that I've been using forever seems not to be working anymore, so I'm missing some little vital piece that tends to happen at 6 a.m. So, okay.
Participants enter key to select.
So now we're okay?
Share. Button enter key to select.
We're good to go.
Okay. So I'm actually going to share my screen.
Start share. Start share. Start share. Start share.
Oh.
This will stop other screen sharing. Do you want button cancel? Press the enter key to button OK. Press the enter key to run.
I've got to stop
Okay.
your screen share.
Current share. Button enter key to select. Button screen enter key to select.
Jenna, you might slow your speech down just a little bit.
Okay, just a minute.
Checkbox not checked. Don't show it. Button cancel. Press the enter key to button start now. Press the enter key to start now. Zoom. Main volume 8. Main volume 7.
Okay. We will try this again. I'm losing my total confidence in doing webinars, I gotta tell you. It seems like every time I try to do this, there's some kind of technical weirdness that happens. So we're gonna try this and see how everything goes. So one thing that's interesting, we have been dealing with social media in terms of conferencing. You know, we've talked about Zoom several times. I'm using Zoom directly on my Polaris right now. We talked about, I think Teams, I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago, is also very easy to use. So there's kind of a difference actually between social networking apps and online conferencing apps. And I have to say, I think that the conferencing apps tend to really work beautifully on Polaris. It really makes Polaris shine these things. You know, again, once you learn to navigate them and use first letter nav, they work really well. The interfaces are very easy. Social networking is a little bit of a different animal. We've talked about Facebook and how it is a little bit different because there are so many controls on the screen, and you have different ways of navigating with the screen reader, you know, via the lists and via the different control areas. And Facebook and Twitter are definitely two applications that have a lot going on in them. And I have tried several apps for both, and you can use the Twitter app for Android. It is possible, but I have found that the best one to use is called Tweetings for Twitter. And I know that that was mentioned on our last webinar, and this time I actually want to go through using that and how that works. It is, I believe, $2.99 on the App Store, so it's not free, but I actually tried it on recommendation from one of our other users, and I have to tell you, of all the various ones I've tried, this is really your best option. If you do tweets a lot, it's worth doing and it's worth having it. So let's actually go to the main menu.
11,000 quotes, saying status.
And we are going to go to Tweetings.
Teams. Tweetings.
And I'm going to go ahead and open this. Of course, it just takes a second to load.
Home.
Okay. So now I have all of my controls. And again, I have home.
Button jump to top, enter key to select.
And then I have a button that says jump to top. So first of all, let me explain that when you open any Android app for Twitter or Facebook or any social network, generally the first thing you're going to need to do is to sign in to the social network. So when you first open this, you will have to authorize the app via Twitter. That will open in the Chrome browser. And once done, then of course you'll never have to deal with that again. You just open in the app. And the first thing it lets you know is what timeline you're viewing. As I said, when you press F3, then the next option is jump to top. And you almost always want to do this because this is going to refresh your timeline.
List verified. Atoms, 10 meters. Walton 92 and 2 others retweeted this. 3, 2, enter key to select.
And so it refreshed my timeline and it shows me now one of the newest tweets. So I can press F3.
Button profile image, enter key to select. Button ATXW's update. The NWS San Antonio has updated their guidance forecast confidence stating storms will be on the increase between 5 to 9 p.m. Map damaging winds, very large hail, an isolating tornado, all possible. Please continue to monitor local forecasts for updates. Enter key to select.
So this is a weather report that someone tweeted.
Button reply, enter key to select. Button retweet, enter key to select. Button like, enter key to select. Button more, enter key to select.
So I have all of my options here. I can reply, I can retweet, I can like, and there's more. So again, I'll keep going.
Button 57, enter key to select. List verified. The Verge, 20 meters, 16, 61, enter key to select. Button profile image, enter key to select.
So I have all of the same things. So here's the thing. of course, going through all of these controls is not going to be what you're going to want to do. So one of the things that you want to remember to do is to use your first letter nav. Once you've figured out an application and you've explored it, you want to remember to use your shortcuts when you can. So I'm going to go here.
Button watch nearly 24 minutes of new gameplay from The Last of Us Part 2 Beverage.com 2025 27 2126. Enter key to select.
Okay, so here's the tweet, right? Okay, so let's say that I don't want to go through all the controls. I want to jump. So I know that the more button is always the last thing before you go to the next tweet. So if I press the letter M.
Button more, enter key to select. Button 63, enter key to select.
Oops.
List verified, The Verge, 35 meters, 4, 19, enter key to select. Button profile image, enter key. Button Pokemon Go Fest will be held online this year at Beverage.com 2025 27 2000.
So again, I'm just pressing F3 to get through, but it hung up for a quick minute, but it doesn't usually do that. My point, I guess, with this is that you don't always have to go through all the controls. You can actually make it faster
More.
by jumping.
List, button more options, enter key to select.
Well, that actually looped me around.
List verified, Atoms, 12 meters, Gibraltar 92 and 2 others retweeted this. 3, button more, enter key to select.
So again, I just pressed the more button. What this is doing is actually, again, just keeping me from having to go through all these controls. And this is actually really, really useful because you're not going to want to always deal with everything. You don't need to retweet or reply or like, or, so you don't need to see that. When you're going through the list, you don't want to see that every time. So this is, again, one of the things that's very good to remember. Okay, I want to actually go to the top here.
Button open drawer, enter key to select.
And I could have pressed the letter O also. And I'm going to press enter here.
Jenny, well, we had a request to slow your speech down just a little bit more. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Main volume 6.
Oh, sorry.
Voice rate 6.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Button profile image, enter key to select.
Just a second.
Button profile image, enter key to select. Button Jenny Axler, enter. Button Jaxler, enter key to select. Button accounts, enter key to select. List home, enter key to select.
Okay, so what I have here, I was in the navigation drawer and I was just pressing F3. So this is where you're going to find all of your various options. So I have information about my accounts. I can add an account. Now I have various timelines that I can access. Home is the first one.
List mentions, enter key to select.
I can access mentions.
List direct messages, enter key to select.
Direct messages.
List search, enter key to select.
Search.
List lists, enter key to select.
Lists.
List likes, enter key to select.
So, and again, I can use first letter navigation. So I'm going to jump to the top.
Button profile image, enter key to select.
And let's say that I actually want to go to direct messages. So let's press D.
List direct messages, enter key to select.
So again, once you know what you're doing, this doesn't have to take so long. Of course, I have to explore to show you what's here. But always keep in mind, because I always feel like when I do these presentations with Android apps that it appears more complicated than it has to be. So, I can't say it enough that once you know where you're going, this becomes a serious breeze because you can just first letter navigate to where you need to go. I actually don't want to go to direct messages though. So
Button
let's
profile image, enter key. List mentions, enter key to
We'll
select.
go to mentions. Okay, I'll press enter.
List button open drawer, enter key to select.
So now I'm back in the main window like I was before, but this time my mentions timeline is up.
Mentions. Button jump to top, enter key to button notification drawer, and button more options, enter key to list Scott Erickson, Sarachson, 13 day, in reply to Jaxler, enter key to select. Button profile image, enter key to button I just use the regular Facebook app, but it could be better.
Okay, so again, this is just my mentions timeline, people actually writing to me at J Axler. But again, you can access all these timelines. Now let's say that I want to do something like a reply or a retweet.
Button reply, enter key to select.
I can actually press enter here.
Reply, what's happening? Enter key to select. 280.
So what I just did there, it says what's happening, and I pressed F3, and it tells me I have 280. So
what's happening?
What it is, that's actually the character count and the amount of characters I can type. So let's say I wanted to reply to him. Now I'm in the edit box, so I will press enter. And let's say I just want to start typing. So I'll just say, hey, I'm not actually going to post this, so it doesn't matter.
277.
So I just pressed F3 and that character count changed to 277. So because I just typed the word hey, H-E-Y, I used 3 characters. And so it does actually let me know how much I have left, how many characters I can continue to type. So I'm going to actually press escape F4 to cancel out.
Alert tweet. Tweet not sent or saved yet. Button cancel, press the end. Button discard, press the enter key to run.
Okay, and I'm going to discard it.
Tweetings. Button open, draw your enter key to select.
Now, if I want to actually write a new tweet, I can press the letter C to get to compose.
Button compose, enter key to select.
And I'll press enter.
Compose. What's happening? Enter key to select.
And I have the exact same edit box with the same controls. So again, very simple if you know where you're going.
Tweeting. Button open, draw your enter key to select.
And again, I just pressed F4 to cancel out. So again, it has a lot of controls. There's a lot going on. You know, you compare it to something like TW Blue where everything's just in a straight list, and it's not that. It's definitely not that. But again, with some practice and with some understanding, you can actually know where you're going. Again, you always want to jump to top to refresh. So if you're at the top of the list,
button open, draw your enter key to select.
Again, just press J.
Button jump to top, enter key to
and
select.
Press enter.
List Scott Derrickson. List button right.
And actually, I didn't need to refresh, but because there's nothing new there, but it does actually refresh. So again, very, very simple with first letter nav. And I feel like I'm a broken record, but I don't really know what else to say on it. Social networking, again, the applications really do just have a lot going on. It's the same way with the Gmail app, you know, compared to using Polaris, for example, the Polaris email app. The Gmail app has more controls. So it really is a matter of exploring the application and navigating. And I will not lie to you, there are a lot of apps that are not very accessible, that have a lot of graphical buttons. I tried several that were not doable. But tweetings really is doable if you use Twitter a lot. And again, you explore the app, you use first letter nav. This one I think is actually, it's easy enough to use. I don't mind it. It doesn't feel like a hardship to me now that I'm familiar with the application. It also does have a lot of settings. You can really customize what you see in the list. So I actually had forgotten about that till just now. I took a lot of things out. There are more options that are shown by default when you first open it. But there are some settings, and there's even one that optimizes for accessibility. Let me see if I can actually just
button open drawer, enter key to select.
I'm going to go in the open drawer.
Stop share, button enter key to select. Stop share, button enter key. Stop share, button enter button Jenny X button Jack button list home list mentions list direct mess list search list set list likes enter key list settings enter key to select.
Okay. So it wasn't on my first screen. I had to actually navigate there, but I'm gonna
button navigate up enter key to select settings. List look and feel.
So there's this look and feel, and that's going to allow you to customize the screen.
List theme enter key to select.
Theme you don't really care about in terms of using this on Polaris. That's a visual thing.
List interface enter key to select.
There are interface settings.
List images, GIFs, videos enter key to select.
This is actually just what you want to do with images and videos as you see them.
List navigation items enter key to select.
Navigation items. So again, this actually is what allows you to control what you see when you're viewing your timeline.
List content.
Content.
List compose enter key to select. List mute filters enter key to select.
That's going to be about things that you maybe don't want to see in your timeline. So that's actually a Twitter setting.
List notifications enter key to select.
Notifications.
List refresh sync enter key to select.
This is about refreshing and syncing, like how often that happens.
List content cache enter key to select.
Content cache. Again, now we're getting into some Twitter settings. But if you go into things like the look and feel, you're going to find that this is extremely customizable. And you can actually choose what you want to view and what you don't. So you can unclutter it. You can't unclutter it all the way. I think I'm down to pretty much what you can see in terms of the basic timeline. But when you open it, don't freak out. You know, when you see all these controls and go, that's too much information. Yes, it is too much information, but you can actually get rid of it in here. So I do actually like this app. I think it's one of the most powerful and customizable. And as I said, it's really not too difficult. In terms of mainstream social networking apps, it is one of probably the better ones that there is. And I do think for Twitter that it's the best option. So I'm actually just rambling because there's really not a whole lot to show you other than this. It's just a matter of, exploring the app and customizing it how you want it to be. So I think as far as it goes, I'm pretty much done. So do we have questions, Thomas? Any additional?
Yeah, we've got some questions here. That was great, Jenny. Thank you. I learned a lot. Let's go ahead and start with the first question. The question is, how do I get tweetings to current home timeline tweets? It's been a couple months since I finally got it to the home timeline, a process I've already forgotten. Thanks.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I just plugged in headphones.
Sure. How do I get tweetings to current home timeline tweets?
Yes. Okay. So actually, this is what that jump to top is actually exactly what you want. So when you go to open drawer, oh, wait a minute, I'm in my mentions timeline. It doesn't matter though. So depending on what you're looking at, so I actually will go back into, it really depends on where you are. So that's the difficult part, is I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna do a couple things. So I'm gonna go into the open navigation drawer. And my speech is no longer, I'm very sorry. So I'm navigating, and in the navigation drawer, remember I was listing, there was all those timelines, home, mentions. So the difficulty is I can't use the headphones and hear the Polaris speech. So now I'm using headphones to try and hear the questions, and you can't hear my speech anymore. So when you go into the open navigation drawer, there's the home option. So that's the first thing that you want to do, is choose that. Once you get in there, I will take my headphones out. If you move forward,
Home. Button, jump to top, enter key to select.
This is where I was telling you that this jump to top option for refreshing the home timeline, this is what you want to do. If it's been a while, it might take a while to update. So, just let it sit for a minute. If it's, if you checked it yesterday, obviously this is going to refresh pretty fast. But if it has been a while since you logged in, for a couple of months, you might need to let it sit there, and you might need to do this a couple times. But that jump to top should actually get you to your current, most recent tweets in your home timeline. Did I lose you?
Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. Byron,
oh, no, that's okay. I thought it was me.
No, it was on my end. Byron, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Byron, you have your hand up?
Okay.
There you go.
There we are. I had to find the command to do it. Is tweeting available for the PC, or is it just an Android thing?
I actually don't know. I will tell you, though, that for the PC, I recommend TW Blue. It's free, and I haven't found anything better than that. So if you're looking for a PC client, that's what I recommend. And as it's nothing competitive, I don't have a problem saying that. So.
I used TW Blue for a while, and I tried to expand it so it would give me more tweets, and in the process, it went kablooey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I haven't had any problems with it.
So I'm nervous about that one.
Oh, no. Well, the good thing about it is it's free, so you can't really break it. So.
How much money do I get for that?
So I did find that tweetings is for iPhone, iPad, and Android.
Okay. So not for PC.
Not for PC. Okay. Thank you,
Thomas.
Sure. All right. Let's see real quick. Let's go to another question here. Have you tried to integrate notification sounds for this app? I had a problem getting my sounds to work as they do in the Twitter app.
Sorry, no, I have not. It's not something I actually don't want a lot of sound coming through my Polaris, so I apologize. That's not something I've tried.
Okay. Do tweetings edit boxes require computer braille, or can you use standard grades?
You can use standard grades unless you're typing a web address or an email address. But if you're just typing, I was actually just typing in contracted Braille and it's fine.
Okay, great.
So generally in third-party apps, so this is actually more of a general question. It's really not related to tweetings. In third-party apps, if you are typing normal text, you can generally use whatever Braille grade of Braille that you are using in the rest of the unit. If you need to type in, like I said, a username and password, generally, I'm going to say switch to computer Braille. There can be some issues with that, and you certainly don't want that to be the reason you can't log in. So I would say username and password and then web addresses, but otherwise you should be able to use whatever grade of Braille you want.
Great, thank you. All right, caller, phone number ending in 7768. 7768.
Hi there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort of continuation of what you were just saying is part of my question. When you do log in and you're using something like computer Braille, then should we actually toggle the keyboard into computer Braille, or can we write, with the computer Braille beginning and end signs or whatever to do the username and
It's going to
stuff like that
depend.
instead of switching?
It'll depend on the situation. A lot of times the Polaris will recognize that that's what it needs, and when you press enter on the edit box, it will say computer Braille is required.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If
Okay.
it does that, then it automatically switches in for you. You don't have to do that. If you do not see that, I would say go ahead and toggle it just to be on the safe side. With
Okay,
Space G.
instead of just leaving it the way it is and using the signs for computer Braille
No,
or
yeah,
whatever.
right. Yeah, you're going to want to toggle it in to computer Braille. Unless it tells you computer Braille is required,
Right.
I would say toggle it in. And to
I
me, again,
understand.
it eliminates the question of, did I enter
Confusion,
something
right.
wrong? It just ensures that you are for sure in computer Braille and it's a one-to-one. So
Well,
you
and I
know
notice sometimes it's not as much with the login for something like this, but sometimes it can happen for this too, although I notice it more when I'm trying to do searches and stuff. I will see, where I can enter the information that maybe I want to look for, and then I see a clear all button or whatever, and if I tab over, I never find the search button.
a lot of times in
to
that
go ahead and
instance, you
finish
can
the
just press
entry.
enter. A lot of times enter will automatically activate it even if you don't see it. It's not
Okay,
always the
and
case, and if you have a problem with a specific website, definitely let us know. We can a lot of times fix it.
okay.
But as a rule, if you press enter, even if you don't see it, it's going to automatically activate it for you.
And can you explain a little bit more about how that navigation drawer works and what it's actually supposed to do? Because I see that, of course, on a lot of the third-party or a lot of the Android
Right.
apps.
The navigation drawer is very similar to pressing like F2 or space M in a Polaris application. It's basically your menus.
Okay.
So you have, but again, the navigation is different, of course, because you're going to use F3 and space F3 instead of space 1 and space 4. But the functionality is generally the same. It's going to be your menu for the application.
Okay. Well, I am, I'd like to try to work with tweetings a little bit. I have it on my Polaris, and I thought somebody was telling me that there was a way to set up something for accessibility, that I think I saw it even, but I couldn't figure out exactly what to do with it in that app. Have you seen that at all?
Yeah, there is an accessibility settings, and I thought how cool it was to see that, but I didn't really notice that it did anything for me, that it changed anything in Polaris.
I wasn't really seeing where it would, but I figured I probably missed something since this is all new to me, and I think it would make more sense.
Sure, I think. Oh no, it's okay. No, I think it would make more difference on a phone. I think because Polaris is already using screen reader. Like a screen reader to access it. I didn't notice any difference. I did try it because I thought how cool that this mainstream app actually had accessibility settings in there, and I was curious, but I didn't notice. It's supposed to optimize it for accessibility, but part of the reason I may not have noticed is that I may have already done, because I had already tweaked a lot of settings by then, and a lot of that was getting rid of information I didn't want to see. As I said, there's the look and feel, and there's the content, and the settings for how the timeline appears, and things like that. So there's so many settings. This app has so many, and even I haven't explored them all yet, but there are a lot of ways to customize it and
Twitter
simplify
terribly, because I used to use it a lot on the U2, and I really, really miss it being there, and I just haven't found a, app that I felt comfortable with. And somebody suggested this one, and I loaded it on, but I just couldn't figure out how to work with it real easily. And I wish there were there were more tutorials available, or little things like this, that we could kind of learn how to use some of these.
Yeah, it's hard for us to do that a lot because the apps can change and we don't have any control over their content.
Yeah, I understand that.
If they update.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing this. I'm going to try at some point to learn to use it because, like I said, I really miss having a Twitter app.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Up next, we have Emma. Emma, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
I had a comment regarding PC Twitter clients for the person who said that they were having trouble with TW Blue. I actually just started very recently looking at Tween, which is another relatively mainstream Twitter app that's available for PC. Because I was having a couple of issues with TW Blue as well, just in the amount of resources it was using. But Tween is another good option. It's relatively easy to find if you just look up, if you just Google search Tween Twitter client, and there are resource pages that, for example, some users have created in order to allow for optimized accessibility and walkthroughs of keystrokes and the like. It's really good. I really enjoy using it.
A lot of people are using that. Just FYI, it does take a little more configuration for those who want to try that.
A little bit, but it's not bad at all.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, we'd love to hear what all of you are using, and if you found something that you're using that you really like, yeah, please share it with us. All right, up next, Shireen, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Okay, so first of all, I know that I'm kind of new to the Android side of things. Apparently I'm still trying to learn even the Play Store. I keep trying to download Tweetings and I could hit I until my fingers fell off. Where's the install button?
You have to purchase it because it's not free. It's a buy button, not an install button.
Oh,
so
okay. That's the first thing to know.
Right. So if ever you're not able to find something with first letter nav, that's when you need to use F3 and explore the application and see what you might be missing.
Okay. I think this kind of does fall in the category of social media. Is there literally a Android Messenger app, or can you talk through how to go into Google Hangouts and what exactly settings to do or something to get rid of I don't know that I need Google messaging, or maybe I do. I don't know. But according to the Polaris, I sure do, because it won't stop
the notification, the SMS. Yeah. There's a setting in Hangouts to turn that off, and I don't remember exactly what it is. Hang on, I'll try to look really fast and see if I can. Hang on, I'm just opening Hangouts. So hold on.
Well, I guess I've got a decision to make. Do I want to spend money on, I don't know what it costs, but do I want to spend money on Tweetings, or do I want to just do Twitterific on my iPhone? I love Twitterific.
Twitterific actually doesn't, it's not available for Android. I wish it was.
Yeah.
So actually, it looks like
his fault, but
No, it looks like, well, yeah, it's not available on Android phones either. It's just, they just haven't made, it's only, I think they might have an app, Mac app, but anyway,
think
it
they
looks like I've
do,
already
but
turned this off, so I don't see it. But if I remember right, when you open Hangouts, you'll actually see something immediately that asks you what you want to use, and you can actually just turn it off. But right now I'm just seeing, it asks me which account I want to use and various things, so it looks like I've already done that.
okay. Well, I'm having some issues with Hangouts anyway, and I'm not sure who to talk to about it. I don't think it's a him's issue, but anyway,
It's probably not. Hangouts is kind of going away, so it's probably could be a Google thing.
oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much for that. So we had a question in the Q&A chat. Jenny, how do you feel this compares to Twitter? I find Twitter quite workable right now.
You mean the Android Twitter app?
Yeah.
Actually, I like this a little bit better, but you're right. And I think I did mention that at the beginning, that the Android Twitter app is usable. It is. I do actually like this one a little bit better. I feel like it's a little less hiccupy. It's a little easier to navigate. It's definitely more customizable. But yeah, if you're using Twitter and you like it, there's no reason that you have to pay the $2.99. I would say that Tweetings and Twitter and the default Android Twitter app, I thought about showing that one last time, and I decided on Tweetings because when I was comparing the two, I really thought that Tweetings was just a little bit more usable. I found it just a little bit easier to navigate and use, but you're right, it is actually usable. So if you want a free option, if anyone wants a free option, the default Android Twitter app that's created by Twitter itself is actually usable. So it's okay. But I do think Tweetings is a little bit better.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so Kathleen, go ahead and unmute yourself, Kathleen, and ask your question.
So when teenagers in general use social media, can they add emojis to the Polaris?
When you're tweeting?
No, I'm just saying when teenagers in general use any type of social media platform, this is this is just a general question. So when they use any social media platform,
it's gonna depend. So I was using Kakao Talk, which is a social media app in Korea, and it's interesting because I can see the emojis that people send to me, but I can't access the emoji keyboard for whatever reason. I can type just fine. So it's going to depend a little bit on the application and how accessible that happens to be. I think it's not something I worry about too much. I probably because I'm too old, I guess. But it's one of the problems with those is that it can be hard to pick them because depending on if they have accessible descriptions or not. So that's what's really funny is that Android as a rule does have accessible descriptions for a lot of them. So when I receive them, sometimes they're really hilarious, the the actual graphical descriptions, but they are images. So I think they're more accessible on the iPhone, I will say that, than Android in general.
All right, thank you very much for that question. All right, so that's all the questions that we have right now. If you have another question, go ahead and type it into the Q&A or go ahead and raise your hand. All right, somebody has written, have you successfully viewed alt text on images with tweetings?
I honestly don't know. I can't really remember or think about that. The problem is I'm not a huge social media person. I do use Twitter a lot. I'm trying to think, honestly, if I have. I'm honestly not sure, to be honest. I don't know if I can't really remember. I do use TW Blue and tweeting sort of off and on together, depending on where I am and what I'm doing. So I just really can't remember. I know that's terrible.
No, that's a very valid answer. All right. So it looks like that's all the questions that we have for right now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this webinar. We are recording it, and it will be made live on the website, the HIMSS website. You can check out our other webinars, our past and upcoming webinars at hims-inc.com/webinars. Go there frequently to find out all the great content that we're going to have coming up and to check out the past webinars. So,
Thomas, just before we go, I also do want to add very quickly that we are going to be doing another Ask Us at HIMSS segment in June. So if you have general questions, want to talk to us all as a HIMSS group about any kind of questions that you may have, we are going to do it though this time at the regular webinar time. It is going to be recorded, so but we've decided that we're not going to actually change the time from our normal webinars just to make everyone, just so that it will be on the regular time. And check out the webinars page when we figure out for sure what date we're going to do it. It will be posted there, and it will be coming up in June.
Also, this Friday, we have a webinar that will discuss the word processor and Notepad and sort of the differences between them, how they compare, which one does what. We know that that's a little bit confusing sometimes for people because we have 2 text editors. So this Friday, it's Friday for you guys, Saturday for me, we will be covering that.
Hey, I have a quick comment, if I may. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, ma'am, Shirley, we can hear you.
Okay. I've noticed, and I don't know, one of you guys needs to try it, and maybe it's just me, but I find it very curious that when I get these emails about this seminar, about the various webinars you guys are doing, I cannot register for it from the Polaris, which I think is kind of ironic. So I usually have my husband register for me because I end up in some kind of thing where it tries to send me to PayPal and who knows what else when I try to go to the registration link, and I've had no success with it. So I would be curious if I'm, really doing something wrong or whatever, but I would think if we're going to register for a webinar, it'd be nice to have the registration accessible from the Polaris. So I would be curious to have you guys check into it and see what you find. And also, Mike, the thing that you were talking about in June, can you repeat the beginning exactly what you said that was going to be? Some kind of a general?
Basically, what we like to do occasionally is for all of us to come together. There are times that we have focused webinars and we're going to talk about X. But there may be a time where just everybody kind of comes together and we all learn from customers. Customers ask us questions. They give us opinions.
Oh, that'd be super.
Kind of like what you just did is a prime example of that. Someone may say,
will it be in a Zoom setting like this?
Absolutely, yes. It will be the same exact format of what we're doing now. And generally we have our technical support staff joining us. Jenny is here, I'm here, Earl's here, Thomas is here. Oftentimes our CEO is also with us. And it just kind of gives us all as a HIMSS family, if you will.
And will those of us who get these other emails, like the one for today and Friday, will we get the email for that one also?
Absolutely. It's the same exact format as we're doing for all of our webinars. And
that would be super. And you don't have the date yet on it, correct?
The date is actually going to be 17th of next month.
So there we go. I wasn't sure we had totally finalized it, but yes, it's June 17th. And again, it just kind of gives everyone a chance to come together and there's no real topic. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your friends. And
what time of the day will that be?
It'll be at 4 Central,
Yep, 4
5
Central.
Eastern, 3 Mountain, 2 Pacific.
4
6
Central
a.m.
or
in
5
Korea.
Central? I'm sorry, I thought I heard 2 different times.
It'll be
4.
4 Central Time, 5 Eastern.
Okay, just like this one was then.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I really do look forward to that. I'm going to try and make that. I appreciate you guys doing that.
And I also do just quickly want to say, as we often do say, but thanks to all of you who have been coming to these webinars. I see a lot of the same people who are coming back over and over, and it's so good to see all of you putting time in your schedule. I mean, you guys are the reason why we're doing this. And so I just also want to encourage everyone, spread the word, tell your friends. Typically Wednesdays, Fridays at 4 p.m. There are some weeks that we may take a day off or something, but for the most part, Wednesdays, Fridays at 4 Central. Come join us and tell all your friends.
All right, Christina, go ahead and ask your question.
I am just a few days into using this. I got a Polaris Saturday, and I'm not even sure I'm going to keep it because it can't keep up with me when I type. And so I guess I wanted to kind of know where's a good place to start. I logged into Facebook, but all the stories are showing up as gobbledygook and Braille. Twitter won't even let me log in. Like, where do I even? I'm like 10 miles behind you people. So where do I start?
So Facebook is,
We are actually trying to figure out a better way to navigate that right now and see if there's something we can do in our screen reader to improve that. So we know that one is a little bit problematic. Twitter, though, you should be able to get into. I'm not sure what's going on with that. You might actually have to call tech support so they can sort of walk through it with you.
I would, but tech support is impossible to get a hold of.
Have you tried recently?
Yeah, I was going to say they shouldn't really be. Not anymore.
Have you tried
Are you leaving messages?
Yes.
You've left messages and they haven't gotten back to you?
They got back to me yesterday, but probably because of this upcoming today, nobody's called me yet. But Twitter, what my problem is, I'm entering my info and I'm pressing enter on login, but login is not a button. It's just a thing, and I press enter.
Oh, are you doing it through our web browser? Ah, you can't do that.
So you don't want to try, are you trying to use like m.twitter.com?
Yes. How did you know?
No, actually, you probably don't want to do that. And to be honest, it's not going to be as easy. You probably want to download the Android Twitter app or Tweetings, as we were just mentioning. So you want to go to the Play Store. The Twitter app for Android is free. And so you will actually have to do a login, but you'll do it via Chrome. And you could actually try that. I haven't, but I guess you could. That's interesting. I actually should try that because I do like the m.twitter.com site too.
I know.
And
I'm a holdout. I love it.
The same is true actually for Facebook. I will tell you that. Instead of using the Facebook app, if you want to use m.facebook.com, I don't know if you're trying that.
I did, and it let me log in, but then when it shows me all my stories, they all come out as gobbledygook and Braille, and it's like, well, I can't read that.
Oh.
When you say gobbledygook and Braille, can you kind of give us a little idea of gobbledygook?
No, gobbledygook is exactly that. You can't read it.
Oh, you know what? Okay, I might have an idea. I bet they're not completely. So in our web browser, I think though what you're encountering are probably images. So in our web browser, but in our web browser, there is if you go into the options, there is an option actually to turn images off. Try that, and at least I think what's happening is you're getting stuck in the image content, but if you turn images off, you won't even see it. And so then you'll be able to get to the text content without dealing with that. So that would be my recommendation for that. And it should make your navigation much, much easier. That's actually why we have the option, because they do come up like that. If there is alt text, they're okay. But if you encounter an image, it does actually sort of show you some weird
content. So if you turn it off, it just disappears. It's just gone. So that would be my recommendation for that. For Twitter, I would recommend downloading the app or actually trying m.twitter.com in the Chrome browser, which I haven't done. The cool thing about the Chrome browser, it doesn't have quite as much navigation as our browser, but what it does have that our browser doesn't is first letter navigation. So if you know where you're going, sometimes that can be a little bit easier in the Chrome browser. So I'll have to try that myself and see how well that works, because I'm actually not sure. I do usually use apps for Twitter, and like I said, the mfacebook.com is usually, that's going to be your best option for Facebook. And I do think if you turn images off, it's going to change your world. So,
I can't even seem to find that. Like, I went to web browser and I pressed O chord for options and it took me to the usual. So I'm
right. That no. You want to go into the menu. So press F2, and then go into the menu and go into I believe there's it's actually
backspace O
options. Hang on, I'm checking it because I always forget. I know when I see it, but if you actually, if you open, like I said, if you open the web browser and you press F2, there are different menus like File, Go to, Read, and there's an Options menu. And if you go into that, then you'll be able to, there's Show Visited Links, Show Tables. You can turn off table navigation, and you can actually turn off. Then there's a Show Images, and you can turn it off. So that's where you want to go.
Okay, thank you.
And I do just want to add, you were talking a minute ago about tech support not getting back to you today. Because of COVID, our office is kind of running on skeleton crew. And so when we are doing people's units that are getting repaired, before we ship them back to them, they have to be QC'd by somebody. And so I can tell you for anyone, and I mean, I'll just say it, on Wednesdays, the team is in the office QCing units. So if you need tech support and it is not urgent, they're available on Wednesdays. They are answering phones, but they're also QCing units one day a week. So that probably, Christina, is why no one's called you back today. Other questions?
Just can't do it.
Yep, we've got one more here. Emma, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Emma, I think you was just unmuted a second ago.
I was just wondering if
There you go.
Tech support reps are also available by email, if there's an easy way to get a hold of people like online rather than by phone.
If you're emailing, it is an email. So you're going to email them. They're going to see your email. They're going to respond to you. We do not have like a chat window per se.
Yeah.
But you can send an
She just
email
wants the address, I think.
to support@hims-inc.com.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, that looks like it. Well, thank you everybody for attending. It was a great webinar. Thank you very much, Jenny and Mike. And thank all of you for all of those that have joined us. This webinar, like I said, it will be recorded and will be available online. And check at hims-inc.com/webinars to get this recording and to check out our upcoming webinars. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.